Hello, it is Holly, it is Monday, and that means it is another Live Connect. I'm so excited about today's topic, and I'm going to get straight into it. We have my cat. Hello, Belle. She is joining us today. So me and Belle, I've got lots of great stuff to share with you today. If you've just joined, say hello. If you're in the replay, say hello. Let me know where you are calling in from. We've got women from all over the world joining us today, so I'm really excited to hear where exactly you are dialing in from. And it's probably the weekend for some of you still. It's probably still Sunday here in country New South Wales. It is just after 10 a.m. on Monday morning. So say hello. Tell me where you're dialing in from, and we're going to get straight into this amazing topic. So I have had an incredible question posed to me, and I thought the topic was so important and so relevant, hey Peter, that I wanted to use this topic as the live connect for today, because I know it's going to resonate with so many of you, and I've got a few truths that I want to share with you to shift your mindset around this topic. So the topic is how exactly do we get started with a new business idea or a new business venture when we don't really feel completely expert yet, and when we feel that we're still figuring things out ourselves. So the amazing question that I had is from someone who would love to support others in the space of health and wellness. This is someone who is recently qualified as a coach and is really, really, really passionate about contributing to others in the health and wellness space. But she herself feels that she is still figuring things out, as many of us are, and she is personally suffering from an autoimmune illness. So this is something that she has had to manage on a daily basis for many years. There's evidently been a lot of really difficult challenges alongside dealing with that on a day-to-day basis. And so the natural question that's coming up, which comes up for so many of us when we're starting in a new area or pursuing a new direction, is, can I really contribute to others if I'm still figuring things out myself? So a lot of what comes up when we start in a new area, or we are launching our business for the first time, or we're looking to see how we can contribute and get our first clients and start selling things, is, well, I need to be an expert, and I don't feel like an expert. I feel like a bit of a fraud, or I'm suffering from imposter syndrome, or I'm still working how my next steps, so how can I possibly be of service and value to others? So if that's something that's ever resonated for you, I would love for you to say yes in the comments right now. If you ever have felt those feelings of I'm not ready, or I'm not expert enough, or I'm not qualified enough, I don't have enough experience yet, I'm definitely not an expert, or just questioning what it is that you could really contribute to someone else in terms of value or service or contribution. So if that is something you've ever suffered with, type yes in the comments now, and you're going to see just how many people recognize this and acknowledge this themselves, because it is so common. So the first thing I want to share is that it doesn't matter where you are at right now. The starting point doesn't matter in order to be able to help others, because everyone is still figuring things out. It's just that we are on different stages of a learning journey. We're all on different stages of a particular path. The Dalai Lama still has to work on his mindset on a daily basis. If he doesn't, he's going to hit a plateau, and he's not going to expand and grow and evolve and continue to be able to enrich the lives of others as he does. So it's not that we reach a certain point of expertise and we put our feet up and say, job done, tick box, I'm going to chill out now. We are all still working towards the next goal, the next milestone. If we're not, then we're not expanding, we're not growing, we're not pushing ourselves to our full potential. Tony Robbins still sets goals, So we need to consider that there's always a next step, there's always a next level. And no one, hand on heart, regardless of how many years of expertise or experience or how many lists of qualifications they've collated to date, can say, I am fully 100% the expert of this topic. There is nothing left for me to learn. There is nothing left for me to know. That is just BS. No one gets to that point. Okay, so we're all a work in progress. There's always more to learn. The second thing I want to share here is that if you are in a position where you are wanting to support others, to contribute to others, to help others in some way, in the area of your passion, whatever that is to you, in this example, maybe it's health and well-being, that already means that you are no longer in the trenches. So what do I mean by the trenches? The trenches is where we've all had it, if we're in a place where we are now looking to contribute and support others and help and serve them. The trenches is where we do not know how we can move forwards. The trenches is where we are literally in that fight or flight survival mode. We're just trying to keep our head above water. It might be due to stress, it might be due to anxiety, to overwhelm, it might be due to a relationship breakdown, it might be due to an illness and your health consequences. For me personally, it was when I had serious burnout in the corporate world during my quarter-life crisis, and I couldn't see the wood for the trees. I was literally just surviving. Day in, day out, I was surviving. I would get to the office and I'd have chest pains. I'd feel sick most of the day because I just couldn't cope with the stress that I was putting on myself to be perfect in all areas, all the time, in this, big corporate organization I was working for, in this dream job. And the pressure took its toll, and I didn't know how to wind down. I didn't know how to have any work-life balance. I didn't know how to take a breath. I felt like I just didn't exhale the whole day during that time of my life, and it was miserable. And every single day I was like, I don't get it. This is exactly what I wanted to work on. This was the job that was my dream. This is the work I wanted to do. I've ticked all the boxes. Why aren't I happy? Why am I miserable and stressed out every single day? Why am I scared every time I'm asked to do something new? This fear of failure was crippling. It was absolutely crippling, and I was highly anxious. At that moment in time, there's no way in hell I could have thought to myself, do you know what, I'm really ready to go and help other people now. I'm really ready to contribute in such and such an area of passion or support other people in the workplace to be happier. Because I was in the trenches myself. And the very first step that I took in order to move forwards, I did some meditation classes because I needed to learn how to calm the flip down at that moment. But every single day, my exercise, my morning routine on my commute to work was to journal over and over and over positive affirmations in a little notebook. I still have it. It's called The Little Book of Happiness. And I just had to focus on happy, positive thoughts to get me to walk through the front door of my office every day. That was pure survival. And that was the first thing. Hey, Serena, wow. The first thing that helped me just take a shift and take a step forwards. Just how can I learn how to breathe? How can I focus on positive thoughts? And I was literally writing these affirmations down, like everything is easy and effortless, and I'm positive and happy at work, and I'm feeling really confident in myself, and I know that everything is can be figured out, and I'm taking amazing steps forward, and whatever it was. At the time, it felt like I was really having to force it. I was forcing it when I wrote it down because it wasn't true to me at that moment in time, but it was what I was desiring, and it's what I was working towards. And that was step one, out of the trenches for me. As I said, there's no way in hell I could have been in a position to help and contribute and support other people at that moment in time. No way. I was lifting my head above water and gasping for air. And that was my first step. And my second step was more personal development. I think at the time, the first book I read was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. And then I did more meditation classes, and I read more books, and then I studied coaching, and then I studied NLP, and so on and so forth. And I took each new little step forwards until I had these big epiphanies. And for me, it was the epiphany around I could actually choose how I responded to my situation, that my thoughts were my greatest freedom, and that our greatest ability as a human being is our freedom to choose our response in uncertainty and in fear and in situations where we feel completely powerless and out of control and that everything is happening to us and everything is against us. That was my biggest aha epiphany. Once I had passed that point, I was no longer in the trenches. I hadn't figured everything out because I had just started on the cusp of the tip of the iceberg of, oh my gosh, there's a whole other world of personal development where I could actually learn things that can empower me and inspire me. And it was through this that I discovered, for me personally, the meaning of success, which before I think I just kind of borrowed from other people. I was full blind stuck in comparison traps and comparing myself to others and holding myself accountable to other people's versions of what it meant to be successful in the corporate world, and so on and so forth. And all of that was putting so much pressure on me because it wasn't authentic, it wasn't aligned, it wasn't real, and it made me miserable. So I was finally discovering, wow, actually we get to decide what our version of success is. So this was my personal journey moving forwards, and it was when I started to learn techniques that really helped me just manage my state and keep myself calm under pressure, even when I didn't know how to do something perfectly the first time, even when there was a very real threat of failure. That was progress for me. Now, thinking back, if I wanted to help other people, that was the very first step in the way that I could support someone else. Because by the time that I'd learnt those techniques, I was no longer in the trenches where other people were. The younger version of me still was. And this is the point I want to drive home today, because no matter what level of expertise you perceive yourself to have in a certain area, if you are feeling called to contribute, if you are passionate beyond measure around working in a certain area and supporting and helping others, that already tells me you yourself are no longer in the fight or flight survival of trenches. You are no longer in survival mode. You're already one step out of it. And you only have to be a few steps ahead of those you want to help in order to have a meaningful, positive impact and contribution. You do not have to be the master and the expert of everything there is to know in that particular area in order to help someone who's at the very beginning stages, in the trenches, where they're suffering and feeling challenged by a particular problem, whatever that is and whatever the context, to take the first step moving forward, and for them to feel, oh my gosh, now I know something I can do. Now I have a strategy. Now I have a technique. Now I have hope. Now I have inspiration. Now I have purpose or direction or clarity or whatever it is that you feel that you can give them. That is having a positive impact. That is supporting and contributing in a meaningful way. So let's take the example of health and wellness, okay? Let's just imagine that someone battled with their weight for years, and when they were in the trenches, they were, just binge eating all the time, and they felt terrible about their self-confidence and their body image, and it was impacting every area of their life, okay? It was impacting relationships, work, opportunities they did or didn't take, how they put themselves out there, hobbies or interests they pursued, if they went out socially or not because they were embarrassed about how they looked, okay? That person, they can take their few steps forward in terms of getting out of the trenches and being in a position to help others. They could have lost weight. They could have lost any weight. They could have been dropped a gene size, dropped 2 gene sizes, dropped 3 gene sizes. They may still have health and wellness goals. They may not quite be at their goal weight. They may still be working on, really empowering themselves with confidence, or going after, the dream relationship or whatever that particular goal is. But they are still in a position where they could help someone who is stuck on the sofa, binge eating, upset, not wanting to go out the front door, never wanting to go out or answer the phone, and not knowing what to do about it. You do not have to be a world-leading bodybuilder. You do not have to have reinvented your life and suddenly be walking down the catwalk for you to have credibility to help others in health and wellness and to show that you turned around your body image and, now you're doing something really positive. You have still made progress. You have still cracked the code that those people still binge eating on the sofa haven't cracked yet. Okay, so they don't know what you know now. And thank you, Serena. I would love to know what is coming up for you here. What is the aha penny drop moment here? You are a few steps ahead of where they are. You are right now where that person, the younger version of you, wants to be more than anything. And we don't even have the headspace when we're right at the beginning of a particular journey to envisage being, a world-class bodybuilder. That's not what we even want. We want to be able to fit in our favorite pair of jeans, or we want to be able to run around the block and not feel like we're going to pass out. We want to go dancing and not feel really self-conscious. So think about, where does your audience most want to be? What is the next step? What feels like momentum and progress and inspiration and hope in terms of them moving forward, and how can you support them from where you are right now. It doesn't matter if you are still working on things in a certain area, because you should still be working on yourself in that area. Otherwise, we're not growing, we're not learning, we're not expanding, we're not walking our talk and practicing what we preach. And this is especially important if we're working in the space of, coaching or healing or anything like that, where we're really supporting people, from a service-based perspective. It's not authentic to say, I know it all, and this is where I'm at, and I never struggle anymore, and I never have any challenges anymore, and I have nothing left to learn anymore. That's BS, okay? So whether you are someone looking to help others get clarity in their careers or start a business, and we can fall into that trap of, but I don't have my own 6 or 7 figure business yet, so how can I possibly help anyone in business on anything? Well, what is their very first step that they would love to take? Maybe it's simply clarity around what a purposeful career direction looks like to them. Maybe it is strategies on how to ask their boss for a raise. Maybe it is being able to tap into how could they turn their passion into a profitable idea. Maybe it is getting their first paying client, because you've already got clients, so you know how to do that. So what is that first needle shifter, that first needle mover that you have already figured out? It doesn't matter that you're not a full-blown expert. You don't have to have spoken on 10 different TEDx stages. You don't have to have published 20 books. You don't have to have your own radio show in order to have a positive impact on someone else who is further behind than you. Okay? Tell me what is coming up for you here. What are we thinking about what I've shared today? How are we feeling about the sense of, I'm not expert enough, or I'm a fraud, or I can't help anyone, so break it down. Break it down. So let's just recap what I've been sharing. Number 1, you do not have to be a huge, 20-year, 30-year expert in a particular area in order to help someone else take the next step. You just have to be a few steps ahead. 2, people can't relate to those who are too far ahead of them, okay? So we seek out the mentors and the teachers and the healers and the coaches who are those a few steps ahead, because it feels that we can, still relate to them. It feels authentic. We know they're going to get where we are, because it wasn't that long ago that they were walking in our shoes. They're not in that ivory tower of having to remember what it was even like to struggle to get out of bed in the morning or whatever it might be, because they're so far beyond that. Okay, that's not real to us either. That's not authentic. We're not going to learn in the best way from them because we don't feel we can connect to them in that same way. And 3, the very fact that you are looking to contribute in a particular area, that you're feeling passionate and called towards serving others, already means that you are a step ahead of them. So break it down into what is the very first thing that I could share with someone. And so let's just take the example of the question I received. Okay, so this is someone suffering from an autoimmune disease and has done for several years, but is passionate about supporting others in health and wellness. So what is it that helps you manage your day? How do you live day to day with your autoimmune illness so that it's manageable? That could be the first thing that you zone in on that helps someone else who right now has perhaps either just been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease or is not coping at all with it, like does not know how to get up out of bed in the morning, does not know how to go through the motions of their day, and it feels like they're spiraling out of control. So the example I shared of me going on my commute on the train in the morning and writing down positive affirmation after positive affirmation after positive affirmation, just to be able to walk through the office, the door of the office, and start my day. Maybe you have an incredible morning routine that sets you up for success. Okay, maybe you have strategies that you have used that help you know, where do I have enough energy to do something, or where do I need to rein myself back, and be really mindful and conscious of that. Maybe you've developed techniques to respond to those moments where it feels really frustrating, and so that even if all that is a simple breathing exercise, it helps center you and keeps you calm. So drill it right down. What is one thing I already know how to do really well that other people might not know, okay? It might seem small and insignificant to you now because it's just your new normal, because it is now an autopilot. But a little while ago, it wasn't. A little while ago, you struggled with those very things too. You hadn't mastered that part yet. And we have to put one foot in front of the other before we can, go after our biggest, craziest dream goals. So it doesn't matter that you haven't figured out, your whole, international business or world domination, or you haven't written your book yet. You have a morning routine, potentially, that helps you get through your day in a really positive way, in spite of having a very challenging autoimmune illness. Now, obviously, I'm paying lip service to that, but that's an example of something that you could support others with and have a really meaningful impact in a really positive way. So what's coming up for you? What is your first step forward that you think could be something you could help others with? What is something you do already know how to do? What is that first step out of the trenches that you've already experienced and gone through that could still, really support other people who don't know what you know? Because we just have this tendency to assume, well, if I know it, it's obvious. How can I help someone else? Because I've got nothing to share. But people don't know what you know. We all have different passions. We all have different skill sets. We all have different levels of experience. So it's about tapping into where am I at versus where are they. So I'm just going to read a couple of the comments I'm getting. So Serena says, love the sense of not being expert enough. I write on personal finance, but I'm not a financial planner or a big finance person. There you go. And still inspiring people around the world. And Serena's published her own amazing book, so I know that for a fact. Natalie says, so true, I'd rather get support from someone who can relate to me and understand the process I'm going through rather than someone who's qualified but has never been in the place I currently am. Yes, it's not real to us. I always say, I've always in my past reached out to the mentors, the teachers, the coaches who I know get the struggle. I need to know they've struggled too. I need to know that once upon a time they've been in my shoes and they didn't know what to do, and they understand the pain and the frustration of that experience. If they have not done that, if they have never struggled with this area, if they've never felt a lack of confidence in that particular space, then it's not really meaningful to me, and I know I will not learn as well from them. Okay, so it's about that real sense of connection that we have to those that we work with and those that we want to help and inspire. Okay, so trust in your own experience. Trust that you have something of value to offer. Otherwise, this wouldn't be nudging at you all the time in terms of that sense of being called towards a bigger contribution. Every single human is wired towards that sense of belonging and connection, and to know that we have a sense of purpose, a reason to get up in the morning. Okay, and I'm so big a believer that our experiences happen to us for a reason, because we were meant to share them with others. We were meant to contribute to others and help and support others. And that's, for me, why, even though I really did feel I hit rock bottom at one point 10 years ago, I'm so grateful for that experience, because there's no way I would ever be doing the work I'm doing today if that hadn't happened to me, if I hadn't reached that breaking point that forced me to take a step back and re-look at everything I was doing in my life and how I felt about myself, how I felt about success, how I felt about failure, and my future. If I hadn't been forced to do that through personal burnout and being miserable and ending up getting ill, God knows what I'd be doing now, but I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be doing, the work that really lights my soul on fire. So for that, I'm forever grateful. And you all need to trust that these experiences are happening to you for a reason, and you know way more than you're giving yourself credit for. So I'd like you to, as an exercise, the next step, walk backwards in time and consider when I was at my absolute, you don't have to have been, by the way, you don't have to have suffered illness, you don't have to have been at death's door, you don't have to have, had to sleep in your car or anything like that to have an epiphany moment, but your biggest sense of personal challenge that you've experienced in a particular area where you want to help others, how did you feel that moment in time? And what was the very first thing you did to get you out of that, to nudge you in the right direction? And the next step after that, and the next step after that. Because that's where you can zone in, and that's what you can share with others to support them. Okay? So I really hope that's been useful and resonated. Love to hear all your comments. Please share this live with anyone else that you think could benefit from hearing this message. People you know who are wanting to do something new and are struggling with feeling brave enough or struggling with feeling expert enough. Tag them in the live. Make sure they can hear this message for themselves, because we all have work that we're supposed to be doing, tapping into our passions. We've all got a legacy to leave in this world to make our mark. And there are others out there who need what you have. That is a promise. Okay? Lots of love, have a wonderful day and rest of your week, and I'll catch you for next week's Live Connect. Bye for now.